my presentation is it was quite difficult to show a lot of information in a small time. It was very difficult because the topic is very large, and there are many things to say about the use or misuse of statistics in seismology or geophysics. This is, I don't know why, but usually seismologists or geophysicians are not very good in statistics, and this is very sad. I'm very sad about this point, and sometimes they don't care. This is completely different with people from biology, for instance. People from biology are very good in statistics. Instead, in geophysics and seismology, there are guys that are quite good, and there are even statisticians especially people from New Zealand that are very good in statistics, and Japanese people also. But a lot of people are not considering, are not practicing statistics in a correct way. They want to go quickly to a result without considering the uncertainties. There are many uncertainties in seismology. Statistical seismology has some connection with the physics of earthquakes. But the physics of earthquakes is interesting because the goal of seismologists is first of all to save life, to improve the. I always says that to colleagues. We are not here only to study waves. We are here to improve the knowledge, to protect people, to best understand the earthquake phenomenon. And statistical seismology may help to the understanding of the physics that is behind the earthquake phenomenon. For instance, we still don't know why there is the Bass law is verified. Why there is this 1.2 everywhere? This 1.2 gap in magnitude between the main shock and the aftershock. Why the curve is like this? There is, of course, certainly there is a physical reason for this. Probably, I will not be the guys who will give the answer to this. I rely on people that are very strong in rock mechanics or pure physics. But I'm just here to highlight some statistical observations, so statistical seismology is a tool that is used to improve the knowledge of the earthquakes phenomenon, and this tool that is used currently by people who are working in earthquake hazard assessment, but they are not using the statistic in a very correct way. The risk of first, the risk is different from the hazard. The risk, you need to define the vulnerability, and also things that people here are very efficient in. That is the determination of site effects. Francisco Chavez Garcia is a leader on this topic. The site effect is a very important, very important part of the assessment of the risk. Because with the site effects, the strength of an earthquake can be multiplied, and this is a part of the risk assessment. And before this, also people, architects, people that are building houses, roads, or bridges, are part of the solution in the mitigation, in the diminution of the seismic seismic risk. And the other part is the seismic hazard. Seismic hazard is comes from the environment. Seismic hazard, for instance, clearly the seismic hazard is much higher in Mexico than in France, because Mexico you have a subduction zone very close. In France there is a plate boundary, but this is not a subduction, and we know, seismologists know since many years that the worst plate boundary is the subductions. The largest earthquakes occur on subduction. So that's the seismic hazard. The seismic hazard depend on the region, on the earth, on the region where you live, and the seismic risks depend on the way you are building houses, and the two are connected. Here to see if I can work with the UNAM, because of course Mexico is a very important country for seismologists. Seismologists in the list of the important countries for seismologists. Mexico is clearly in the list, you know.